Welcome back to the deep dive. I want to start today with a feeling. A feeling I think pretty much everyone listening is going to recognize instantly.
Okay.
It's that specific kind of Sunday night dread. But it's not because you hate your job. It's the opposite. It's because you actually like your job, but you know that when you log on Monday morning, you aren't going to get to do it.
You could be doing everything else.
Precisely. You're going to be fighting fires. You're going to be wrestling with a calendar invite that just will not sync across devices. You're going to be copy-pasting data from one spreadsheet to another, almost identical spreadsheet.
The dreaded copy-paste.
And you feel like you're working at, 110% capacity. You're sweating bullets. But when you look back at your week on Friday afternoon, you realize you didn't actually move the needle on the big stuff. You were just...
treading water.
Exactly. Just treading water.
It's the busy but not productive trap. It's a classic, but what's so interesting about the sources we're looking at today is that they argue this isn't just a personal failing. It's not that you need a better journal or a new productivity app.
Right.
It's a structural crisis, specifically in the world of B2B sales and really business operations as a whole.
And we are digging into a whole stack of documents today, internal revenue reports, really detailed training curriculums, strategy guides, from a company that claims to have solved this. They're called VA Correct.
That's VA Connect.
And they're essentially trying to reimagine how high-performance teams are built. But before we get to their solution, which involves South Africa, wellness coaches, and something they call VA Varsity.
Which we will definitely get to.
Oh, we will. But first we have to look at the problem. And I want to start with a story from the source material that I have to say it made me physically wince.
I have a feeling I know which one you're talking about. Is it the Sarah Mendoza story?
The Sarah Mendoza story. Yes. So for everyone listening, let's just paint this picture. Sarah is what you would call a whale hunter. She is a top-tier sales lead. She's charming. She knows the product inside and out. She closes massive deals. She's the person you want in the room when money is on the table.
She's the rainmaker, the closer.
The closer, right. So a lead comes into her inbox. And this isn't just a maybe. This is a warm intro, a perfect fit for the company, potential six-figure contract territory.
A dream lead.
It's the kind of email you pop champagne over. It arrives on a Tuesday morning at 9:00 a.m., but Sarah, she doesn't open it.
And just to clarify, it's not because she's out playing golf or taking a long lunch.
No, that's the tragic part of the whole story. She doesn't open it because she is drowning. She is literally buried. She spent that Tuesday morning dealing with a calendar conflict between two VPs who refused to compromise on a meeting time.
Oh, that's the worst.
Then she spent the afternoon drafting a proposal from scratch because the company template was broken. Then she spent Wednesday updating the CRM because management was yelling about data hygiene.
The source material calls this the administrative undertow.
It is such a vivid phrase, isn't it? Administrative undertow. You can feel it pulling you down, keeping you from the surface. So that email just sits there. Tuesday passes. Wednesday passes.
And the lead is just getting colder and colder.
Colder by the hour. Thursday morning, she's finally caught up on the admin junk. She sees the lead. She gets that rush of excitement. She drafts a perfect reply. Hey, I'd love to jump on a call.
Reggie.
Radio silence. She follows up on Friday. Nothing. Monday comes around. She checks LinkedIn out of curiosity, and she sees the prospect has posted an update. Excited to partner with competitor X for our next phase of growth.
Ouch. That is painful.
Gone. Poof. Because she was 48 hours too slow. And the worst part, the absolute worst part, is that Sarah was working the whole time, hard. She just wasn't doing the work that actually made the company money.
That story is painful, but it is unfortunately incredibly common. And that right there is the core inefficiency that we are really unpacking today. It's not just about one lost email. The data we have here suggests that high-performing closers, the Sarah Mendozas, the people you pay the big bucks to bring in revenue, are wasting roughly 40% of their time.
40%.
40% on non-revenue generating tasks.
That is almost half their day, every single day.
Think about that from an investment perspective. Imagine you bought a Ferrari. You paid the premium price for the engine, the speed, the performance, but the engine only works 60% of the time. The other 40% of the time, you have to get out and push it down the highway yourself.
That is a very, very depressing image.
But that is effectively what so many companies are doing with their sales teams. They are hemorrhaging money, paying these high salaries for people to do what amounts to data entry. If you are paying someone $150,000 a year and 40% of their time is spent formatting Word documents and chasing down calendar invites, you are effectively burning $60,000 a year in a fireplace.
So the mission for this deep dive is to look at how to stop pushing the Ferrari. We're going to look at this efficiency crisis in modern business, and we're using VA Connect as our lens.
Right.
They're South Africa's largest managed virtual assistant agency, but as we'll see, calling them just an agency kind of, it really undersells what they're doing.
It really does. We're going to look at why the old model of outsourcing is, frankly, broken, why geography matters more than you think, and how they've built a moat around their talent using things like the atomic energy program.
Okay, let's unpack the why first, because I think a lot of people listening might be thinking, look, I know hiring is hard, but is it really a crisis? Can't I just put up a job ad on LinkedIn and find someone?
I think so.
But you've got some brutal mathematics here from the sources that suggest, no, you probably can't. Not easily, anyway.
It is brutal. Let's look at the sales talent crisis first. If you are a business owner or a manager trying to hire a sales rep in the US or the UK right now, you are in for a world of hurt. The sources show the average time to fill a position has jumped from 36 days back in 2019 to 60 days in 2022.
2 months.
2 months. And let's really think about what happens in those 2 months. That's not just a delay. That seat is empty.
Right.
That territory is being ignored. Your competitors are calling your leads, and they're picking up the phone.
And your other team members are probably freaking out because they have to pick up the slack, which just leads to more burnout.
Exactly. They get stretched thin, they get burnout, which leads to them quitting, which opens another empty seat. It's a vicious cycle. And that 60 days is just to get a body in the chair.
And once they're in the chair, do they stay? Because the whole job hopping trend has been all over the news for years now.
That's the second punch in this 1-2 combo. Annual attrition in sales roles is up to 9.7%. So you spend 2 months finding them. You spend maybe 3 to 6 months ramping them up where they aren't fully productive yet.
You're just investing.
And then nearly 10% of them leave within the year. Companies are caught in this horrible cycle of constantly rebuilding their teams rather than scaling them. You can't grow if you're just trying to plug leaks in a bucket.
I saw a stat in here about quotas that actually shocked me. It said something like, most sellers know they're going to fail before they even start the year.
It is a shocking number. The data shows only 28% of sellers expect to hit their annual quota.
Wait, pause on that. Only 28%.
Correct. So
Yeah.
clip that around. That means 72% of sales professionals enter the year on January 1st, basically knowing, I'm not going to make it.
My God, imagine the psychological toll of that. It's completely demoralizing.
It's setting them up for failure. And it goes right back to the Sarah Mendoza story. Why do they think they'll fail? Is it because they suck at selling?
No, of course not.
No. It's because they know the math of their day doesn't work out. They know they can't spend enough of their time actually selling. They know you're going to be stuck filling out forms, managing calendars, and dealing with all this internal bureaucracy. They are defeated by that administrative undertow before they even pick up the phone on the first day.
So naturally, the traditional solution, the one every manager instinctively reaches for, is, okay, we're drowning, let's just hire more people.
The obvious answer.
Right. But then we run straight into the cost issue. And I think we need to be really, really honest about what an employee actually costs beyond just the number on their paycheck.
This is what we call the in-house cost fallacy. We tend to just look at the salary and think that's the cost. So you hire an entry-level sales rep. In a major city, maybe the base is, what, $60,000 to $75,000?
Okay.
Experienced account execs, you're looking at $110,000 to $175,000. Easy.
Which is already a huge amount of money, especially for a small or medium-sized business.
It is. But that's just the sticker price on the car. Now let's add all the hidden menu items. Payroll taxes, health insurance benefits, which are not cheap,
Yeah.
401k matching, the recruiting fee you probably paid to the headhunter to find them in the first place, the laptop, the Salesforce license, the Zoom license, the LinkedIn Sales Navigator license.
The coffee they drink in the office, the slice of prime real estate their desk occupies.
Exactly. And this is the big one people forget. The ramp-up productivity loss.
Yeah.
For the first 3 to 6 months, they are a net cost. They are costing you money, not making you money, while they learn the ropes.
So when you stack all that up,
You stack all that up, the total year-one cost for a single U.S.-based sales hire can easily eclipse $200,000.
$200,000 for one person who, statistically speaking, is going to spend 40% of their time acting as their own very expensive secretary.
You are paying $200,000 for someone to spend nearly half their day doing work that a $15 an hour admin could do. It's the absolute definition of inefficiency.
So this really sets the stage for the remote work correction, right? The sources mentioned that the market is correcting toward virtual assistants in a huge way.
Massive. It's not a small trend. The industry is projected to be worth $55.4 billion by 2035. And this isn't just because it's cheaper, though we will definitely get to that. It's because, and this is the surprising part, the data shows it's often better.
Okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. Better, really. Because the old stereotype of remote work, especially for support roles, is someone watching Netflix in their pajamas or, doing laundry while they're on a conference call. How can that possibly be more productive than someone sitting in the office where you can literally see them working?
That's the fear,
Yeah.
right? That old management thinking of if I can't see them, they aren't working. But the Bureau of Labor Statistics data says otherwise. They found that remote work actually correlates with productivity increases.
Okay.
Specifically, remote workers are 12% faster at data entry tasks. And get this, hybrid employees are reportedly 64% more efficient.
64% seems incredibly high. Why is that? What's the logic there?
Well, think about the modern office. It's actually a terrible place to get deep, focused work done.
True.
You have the open floor plan noise. You have people stopping by your desk to ask just a quick question. You have the birthday cake in the break room. You have the impromptu meetings.
Got a minute. Interruptions that always turn into 20 minutes.
Exactly. When you are remote, you can control your environment. You can put on noise-canceling headphones. You can turn off notifications. You can lock in and focus. So the market is having this huge aha moment. Wait a second. I can get someone who is more focused, more efficient, and doesn't cost me $200,000 a year.
Wait, and here's where it gets really interesting and really messy. Not all virtual assistants are created equal. I feel like everyone has a horror story. I certainly do. You hire someone, and it doesn't work out.
Oh, absolutely. The source material is a great name for this. They call it the Swiss Army knife trap.
The Swiss Army knife trap. Okay, break that down for me.
So you go to one of the typical marketplaces. We won't name names, but you know the big ones. Upwork, Fiverr, those sorts of places. And you find a profile for a generic VA.
Yeah.
And their profile says, I can do your graphic design and do your bookkeeping and your sales calls and write your blog posts and manage your calendar and edit your podcast.
They claim to have 37 different unrelated skills.
Right. And they charge like $8 an hour. You think, jackpot. I found a unicorn. This is the answer to all my problems.
What in reality?
In reality, if someone claims to have 37 skills, they're probably mediocre at 36 of them. They are the definition of jack of all trades, master of none. You ask them to design a graphic, and it looks like it was made in Microsoft Word with clip art. You ask them to do bookkeeping, and they mess up the tax categories.
And the volume model trap comes into play here too, doesn't it?
Yes. A lot of the big agencies, particularly in places like the Philippines or India, they rely on volume. They offer these incredibly low rates, $5 to $15 an hour. It looks incredibly cheap on paper. But then you get hit with all these hidden costs.
What are the hidden costs? Because if I see a bill for $10 an hour, I'm thinking I'm winning.
The first and biggest one is time zone misalignment. If your VA is in Manila and you're in New York or London, you are often 12 hours apart.
Yeah.
So you send a task at 3 p.m. your time. They're asleep, they wake up, they start the task, but they misunderstand one tiny instruction. They email you back with a question, now you're asleep.
Oh, God.
You wake up, you see the mistake, you clarify.
And suddenly a 20-minute task has taken 3 full days of back and forth emails.
Exactly. That delay just kills all momentum. Then there are the cultural and communication gaps. Simple nuance gets lost in translation. And finally, there's the high turnover. In those volume models, VAs are often jumping ship for an extra 50 cents an hour from another client. So you're constantly retraining new people on your business.
So you're saving money on the hourly rate, but you're paying for it in management, headaches, delays, and lost speed.
Precisely. And this is where VA Connect has positioned themselves so differently. They aren't trying to be the cheapest marketplace. They've built what they call a specialized sales ecosystem, and it all starts with a very specific, very strategic geographic choice. South Africa.
Yeah, I noticed that in the documents. They are exclusively South African talent. Why South Africa specifically? Is it just random? Or is there something special about that market?
It's highly strategic. There are a few key reasons. First, let's go right back to that time zone issue we just talked about. South Africa is on GMT+2.
Okay, geography lesson time. What does GMT+2 actually mean for a business in, say, Texas or London?
For London or anywhere in Europe, it's practically identical. There's maybe a 1 or 2 hour difference. You are working the exact same business day.
Hmm.
For the U.S. East Coast, you get a significant overlap. Their afternoon is your morning. This means you can have real-time engagement.
So no more waiting 24 hours to find out they didn't understand the email.
Right. You can actually get on a Zoom call. You can Slack them and get an answer instantly. It allows for genuine collaboration, not just, task dumping into the void. Then there is what the source calls linguistic neutrality.
English is an official business language in South Africa, right?
Yes, it is. And the source material puts a lot of emphasis on the neutral accent. Now, in administrative work, maybe accent doesn't matter as much, but VA Connect focuses heavily on sales.
Right, if you're putting someone on the phone to represent your company to talk to your prospects.
Exactly. If they are cold calling or qualifying leads or setting appointments, any kind of communication barrier is an absolute deal killer. If a prospect has to strain to understand the person on the other end of the line, trust is broken immediately. A neutral accent builds trust faster because there's no cognitive load for the listener trying to decipher what's being said. It just sounds familiar.
And there's a cultural note in here, too, which I found fascinating. The source mentions that South Africans are known for big picture thinking and a systems-oriented focus.
It's interesting. The founder, Karen, who we'll talk about a bit later, describes it almost as a national trait. The South African work culture tends to be incredibly resilient and resourceful. It's less about, tell me exactly which button to press in what order, and more about, tell me what we need to achieve, and I'll figure out the best way to get it done.
That is a huge, huge difference because micromanaging a VA is the absolute bane of outsourcing. You hire them to save you time, not create a new management job for yourself.
Exactly. You want a brain, not just a pair of hands. You want someone who can problem solve with you.
So we've got the geography and the culture, but let's talk about the model itself, because you mentioned earlier, they aren't a marketplace like Upwork where you just browse thousands of profiles and pick a stranger.
No, VA Connect is a managed virtual assistant agency, and that distinction is absolutely critical. In a marketplace, you are the HR manager. You have to write the job posts, you have to vet the candidates, you have to interview them, you have to do the background checks, and you have to fire them if it doesn't work out.
Which is a full-time job in itself.
It is. VA Connect acts more like a high-end headhunter, or maybe a better word is a matchmaker. They call it their strategy-first approach.
Okay, so how does that work in practice?
It starts with a strategy called a Zoom or a Hangout. And they don't just ask what tasks you need done. That's the wrong question. They ask about your business culture. They ask about your personality. Are you high energy and a bit chaotic? Or are you slow and methodical and detail-oriented? They do what they call culture matching.
I love that phrase, culture matching. It sounds like dating, but in a business context, it makes so much sense. If you hate the person you're working with, it doesn't matter how good they are at Excel.
Exactly. If you are a fast-paced, move fast and break things type of founder, and you get matched with a VA who needs 3 days to process a simple request, you will go absolutely crazy. They prevent that mismatch from ever happening.
And once they place someone, they don't just walk away and say, good luck. They have this focus on vertical specialization. As you said, they don't just hire assistants, they recruit sales professionals.
This is a really key distinction. We aren't just talking about someone to book your flights or order your lunch, although they can do that. We're talking about direct revenue generation support. The sources list specific capabilities that go way beyond basic data entry. For example, go high-level CRM management.
Oh man, go high level. I've seen the back end of that platform. It's intense.
It's a beast. It's incredibly powerful, but it's notoriously complex. It handles your sales funnels, your email sequences, your SMS marketing, your appointment bookings, everything. If you hand that to a generic VA, they will break it within a week. VA Connect trains their people specifically on how to manage that beast for their clients.
They also mention appointment setting psychology. That sounds kind of fancy, but what does it actually mean on the ground?
It's the difference between a robot sending a spammy generic email and a human understanding the nuance of a conversation. It's knowing when to push for the meeting, but also when to back off. It's knowing how to handle a common objection without sounding defensive.
So it's the soft skills, the human element.
The crucial soft skills. The source material makes a really strong point here. Automation is failing at complex B2B relationships. We all thought chatbots and AI would take over sales 5 years ago. But it turns out, people hate being sold to by robots.
They have a quote here I really like. Automation handles the repeatable, but VAs handle the relationship building.
Yes, a chatbot is great for answering, "What are your business hours?" It is terrible at navigating a complex negotiation or sensing when a prospect is hesitant but still interested. That requires a human touch. And VA Connect claims a 98% retention rate over 14 months for their staff.
98% in the gig economy. That's unheard of. Usually people ghost you after 3 weeks because they found a slightly better gig.
It implies immense stability. And that stability comes from the fact that they aren't treating these people as disposable gig workers. They're treating them as professionals with a real career path.
And that leads us directly into what I think is the most surprising and maybe the most impressive part of their entire model. It's the moat, the infrastructure they've built around these VAs to support them, because usually an agency just takes a cut of the hourly rate and does, well, nothing else. But VA Connect has VA Varsity.
VA Varsity. And that's pronounced just like it looks, VA Varsity.
Right. It sounds like a college. Is that what it is?
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
It's a proprietary internal training platform. The best way to think of it is like a private Udemy or a Coursera that is only available to their staff.
And who pays for it? The client or the VA?
It's completely free for the staff. And this is just brilliant from a business perspective.
Mm.
Most agencies onboard you and then say, good luck, try not to mess up. VA Connect uses VA Varsity to provide continuous upskilling. They teach soft skills, they teach the latest software updates, they teach new industry trends.
So if I'm a client, the VA I hired in January is actually smarter and more capable by December because they've been taking classes on the side.
Exactly. They turn the VA from a static asset, someone who knows what they know on day one, into an appreciating asset. They get better, more valuable, the longer you keep them.
That is such a fundamental shift from the disposable view of outsourcing. But even more radical than the school is this thing they call atomic energy.
Atomic Energy, I love the name. It's so good.
It sounds like a pre-workout drink, but the sources say it's a wellness initiative. Now, I have to be skeptical here. A wellness program for remote independent contractors. That sounds incredibly expensive.
And incredibly rare.
It is incredibly rare. Usually offshore talent is treated as a commodity. It's a churn and burn model. Squeeze as many hours out of them as you possibly can until they quit, then just get a new one.
Which is awful for the human, obviously, and really bad for the client in the long run.
Terrible for the client because burnt out people make mistakes. They miss details. Their energy is low. So Atomic Energy provides custom diet and exercise programs, physical and mental mobility coaching, and performance accountability. Wait, they actually give them diet and exercise coaching. Like, here's a list of things you should eat this week to have better energy.
Yes, and it's not just fluff. There is deep science connecting physical health to cognitive performance. If your blood sugar is crashing at 2 p.m. because you had a bad lunch, you aren't going to write a good sales email. If you are physically stagnant all day, your brain gets foggy.
So the logic is, investing in the human's physical body and mental health prevents burnout and keeps their brain sharp.
Precisely. If your VA is healthy, energized, and mentally sharp, you, the client, get a high performer month after month after month. It's enlightened self-interest, treat people well, and they do better work. It's not that complicated.
And they tie all of this together with something called VPI, which stands for the Two-Way Happiness Program.
VPI.
It sounds like a tech API, but for feelings. What is it?
It basically manages the relationship to ensure that both the client and the VA are happy. Usually, agencies only care if the client is happy. Is the client still paying the invoice? Good.
Yeah.
VA Connect actively checks in on the VA, too.
Asking things like, is the client being a jerk?
Essentially, yes. Or is the scope of the work creeping beyond what was agreed? Is the communication style working for you? It focuses on culture and accountability on both sides. If the client is being unreasonable, they step in and handle it. If the VA is slipping in performance, they step in and handle it. It protects the relationship.
So they've got the training infrastructure with VA Varsity, they've got the wellness with Atomic Energy, and they have the relationship management with VAPI. That is a serious, serious infrastructure. But we have to talk about the price.
The elephant in the room.
Right. Because usually when you hear managed service, wellness programs, specialized training, you think premium price tag. You think McKinsey consulting rates.
And this is where the absurd value proposition, as the source material calls it, comes into play. Let's actually look at the numbers.
Okay, lay it on me. I'm ready to be skeptical here.
The basic package, their starter plan, is 12,000 Rand per month.
12,000 Rand. Okay, for our listeners doing the conversion math in their heads.
That is approximately $650 per month.
Hold on. $650 for a whole month.
for 40 hours of dedicated work from a matched, trained, and managed professional.
That sounds, I mean, it sounds almost too low. I have to ask the ethical question here. If it's $650, is that a living wage? Are we exploiting people here?
That's a very important question, and it's something you have to consider. We have to look at what's called purchasing power parity, or PPP. In South Africa, the cost of living is significantly lower than it is in New York or London or Sydney. 12,000 Rand is a competitive entry-level salary there. It allows for a decent standard of living. So while it looks like coffee money to a U.S. executive, it is a real, sustainable salary in the local context.
Okay, that context is crucial. So for the client, it's roughly 1/4, maybe even 1/5 the cost of a very, very junior U.S. hire, without even counting all the overhead.
Correct. And that's just the starter package. They have a half-day package for 20,000 Rand, which gets you 80 hours a month.
And what if you want a full team? I saw some of these higher tier packages called the Forge and the Apex.
These are the heavy hitters for companies that are really ready to scale. The Forge is around $4,380 a month. For that, you get a full team, about 160 to 170 hours of work. But here is the real kicker. It includes a dedicated EVA.
EVA.
An executive virtual assistant. The person acts as your single point of contact, your project manager.
Oh, this is interesting because my fear with hiring, say, 5 different VAs is that now I have to become the manager of 5 different people. I don't want to manage 5 more people.
Exactly. That's the management overhead problem.
Yeah.
The Forge package solves this completely. You talk to the EVA. The EVA then distributes the work to the graphic designer, the content writer, the data entry specialist. The EVA quality checks all the work. The EVA sends the finished product back to you.
That is incredibly smart. It removes all the friction for the client.
It does. And then at the very top, you have the Apex, which is $8,800 a month for about 400 hours of work.
400 hours, that's an entire department for less than half the cost of one in-house senior hire in the U.S.
It is a small department. Now, let's do the savings math that the source outlines because it's pretty compelling. Suppose a company is currently spending $500,000 a year on 3 full-time sales reps in the U.S.
Which, as we already established, is a very realistic number once you factor in salary, benefits, and all the overhead. About $160K, $170K each.
Right. Now imagine they switch to a hybrid model. They keep one high-level strategic seller in-house. They pay them well, say $150,000 base. This is the person who handles the closings, the big relationship meetings, the strategy.
The whale hunter, Sarah Mendoza.
Yes. Then they hire 3 full-time VA Connect sales assistants to support that one hunter. That costs about $70,000 total for all 3 assistants for the year.
So the total new spend is $150K plus $70K. That's $220,000.
$220,000 compared to the original $500,000. That is a $280,000 yearly saving. That money falls straight to the bottom line. Or you can use that $250,000 to buy more ads or improve the product or give raises.
And here's the really wild thing. The output might actually be higher, because that one strategic seller is probably closing more deals than the original 3 were combined, because they aren't bogged down in admin anymore. They have a dedicated team of 3 people clearing the path for them, so all they have to do is sell.
That's the hybrid operations models you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
The expert speculation in these documents is that the future of work isn't all AI, and it's not all in-house. It's this hybrid approach. The division of labor becomes crystal clear. In-house talent handles relationship management, closing deals, and high-level strategy.
And the virtual team.
The VA Connect team handles prospecting, lead qualification, CRM hygiene, and proposal preparation. All the stuff that has to get done, but that your expensive closers shouldn't be doing.
CRM hygiene. That is a phrase that strikes fear and loathing into the heart of every single salesperson on the planet.
It's the worst part of the job. It's tedious, it's boring, it's thankless. But it's absolutely essential. If your data is bad, your sales outreach is bad. And if you can offload that entire headache for 12,000 Rand a month, it's a complete no-brainer.
Plus, there's the scalability factor. We talked about hiring taking 60 days. If you need to scale up quickly, that model is broken.
Right. If you launch a new product and suddenly you need to call 5,000 new leads next week, you can't hire internal staff fast enough. It's impossible. With this model, you just call your EVA and say, we need to add more hours. You can scale up almost instantly. Then if the campaign ends, you can scale back down just as fast.
This all sounds, I have to say, almost too good to be true, which usually makes me very skeptical. I'm waiting for the catch. Is this some fly-by-night operation that just popped up last year? How long have they been around?
No, and that's important for credibility. They were actually founded way back in 2008. Back then, they were called Line Tree Consulting.
2008. So they've been through the Great Recession, the rise of social media, the pandemic.
They've seen it all. They rebranded in 2014 to the name we know, VA Connect. The founder is a woman named Karen. And the source material has this fascinating little detail about her background. It says she was trained as a captain.
A captain, like of a ship, a boat captain.
It implies maritime training, yes. The source references this to explain her focus on discipline, leadership, and a steering the ship mentality. It's about having tight systems and processes.
I love that. It suggests a certain tightness to the operation. It's not that chaotic, messy startup energy. It's disciplined operational energy.
Exactly. And her vision from the start was specifically about turning virtual assistants into a genuine, respected career path for South Africans, not just a temporary gig. She wanted to build systems and a reputation for quality. And the testimonials in the documents really back this up. We have a UK law firm quoted as saying their operations became seamless.
And lawyers are notoriously picky. I mean, they're paid to be picky. Yeah. If you spell a word wrong, they notice. If you miss a deadline by 5 minutes, they notice. If you can make a lawyer happy with your attention to detail, you are definitely doing something right.
I agree completely. There's also a company called Safety SA. They're an executive committee for a major testing and certification provider. They use a VA Connect executive PA to support the entire ExCo, the executive committee. That is incredibly high-stakes work. You aren't just ordering lunch. You're handling board-level documents, sensitive information, confidential meeting minutes.
And there was a recruitment agency that found a perfect fit marketing associate through them as well.
Right. The recurring theme in all these testimonials is that the clients don't view these people as assistants. They view them as integral team members who just happen to sit in a different country. They are being integrated into the C-suite and into critical business operations.
It really does challenge the traditional definition of outsourcing. It feels more like insourcing from a different location.
That's a great way to put it. It's about integration, not just delegation.
So to recap, we've covered the problem that administrative undertow that is drowning people like Sarah Mendoza. We've covered the solution VA Connect's specialized South African managed model. We've looked at the infrastructure that makes it all work, the VA varsity training and the atomic energy wellness program. And we've done the math, 12,000 Rand versus $200,000.
This contrast is pretty stark when you lay it all out like that.
It really is. So let's bring this home for the listener. What are the key takeaways here? If I'm a business owner or a sales manager listening to this, what are the 3 big things I need to remember?
I think there are 3 big ones. First, the old way of hiring, expensive, slow, and admin-heavy, is fundamentally broken. The math just doesn't work in the 2020s. You cannot pay premium rates for data entry and expect to grow.
Okay, number 2.
Second, the generic VA market. The $5 an hour person who claims they can do everything is a trap. You end up paying for that low price and hitting costs, mistakes, and your own management time. It's the Swiss Army knife that can't actually cut anything.
And the third takeaway?
Third, VA Connect is offering a specialized alternative built on a moat of quality. The South African time zone and accent advantage, plus the VA varsity training and atomic energy wellness programs that keep quality and retention incredibly high. It's a sustainable model, not just a cheap one.
It really is a compelling argument for reevaluating the very fundamentals of how we build our teams.
It raises a very, very provocative question for anyone listening who manages a team or runs a business. The source has that line we mentioned earlier. Automation handles the repeatable tasks brilliantly, but sales VAs handle the irreplaceable relationship building.
That's the core of it, isn't it? We try to automate everything, and it made us impersonal and robotic. We try to do everything in-house, and it's making us broke.
So the final question for you, the listener, is this. If 40% of your top talent time is being spent on admin, are you actually employing them to do their real job? Or are you just paying premium rates for the world's most expensive data entry clerks?
That question stings a little, but it's a necessary one. If I look at my own week, yeah, there's a lot of expensive data entry happening.
Perhaps it's time to look at that strategy-first approach. Because if you could free up that 40% of time, what could your Sarah Mendoza actually achieve?
She might actually open that email on time. She might close that deal. She might double her revenue.
Exactly.
That's it for this deep dive, a fascinating look into VA Connect and the future of how we work. We'll catch you on the next one.
See you then.